everyone. Welcome to the Comics Fu Show.
I'm your co-host, Patrick Lugo, and with me is co-host Curtis Fujita.
As a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies. So I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding, filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented, and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in this series. With Kung Fu skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Curtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master.
Hi, I'm Plugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine the story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect, but it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year. and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside for color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, we are back. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Curtis. Welcome to the Comics Fu Show, where we stand at the crossroads of Kung Fu, comics, and all sorts of pop culture.
Nice. Excellent.
Getting there.
Totally. You know, and I keep forgetting we should reintroduce ourselves every time, like who we are, and
That's true. That is very true. So, Curtis,
yes,
tell me about yourself.
International man of mystery, gentleman known for being of leisure. No, I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm a Kung Fu instructor. I'm also a comic book creator. So I have my own school, Tiger Crane Kung Fu, where I teach martial arts now online. And I currently am the creator of the comic book, Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master called Shadow Ghost. And that's on Kickstarter now. And you can be sure to check it out. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my co-host, Patrick Lugo. Patrick, why don't you tell them about yourself?
I'm Patrick Lugo, also known as Plugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, currently on Kickstarter with my Volume 2 of my acclaimed Kung Fu wuxia graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. You can see the URL right there. Curtis, I just got news that over the course of this afternoon, that campaign has reached 97% of its funding goal.
That's excellent. That's just within target range, just about to close that gap. So that's excellent.
I know. I feel like it's like one of those bullet time scenes from The Matrix where everything's happening so fast, but it's just like slowing down to the minute 2%. I keep wondering, will I get to that precious 2% before we get to the official 1 week mark of the campaign? That's like my little paradox that I'm contemplating.
One thing I think everybody should take under consideration is that A Tiger's Tale, Volume 1 and 2, is voted a project we love, and that's by Kickstarter directly. So that's a very prestigious thing. Not everybody gets it, and it means that it's unique and very special in its creative endeavors. And so, Patrick, this is not just the first time you've gotten it. This is the second time in a row that you've gotten that. So that's tremendous. Very tremendous.
Yeah. It's been fun. It's such a key little motivating factor, in the mayhem of running a campaign. I mean, we've been talking to, we spent the whole day kind of talking about campaigns, right? We have yourself. This is your first campaign, but it's also the first campaign of Tamika Brown, the CEO of UE Comics, who we were talking to this morning. But then on the other end of the spectrum, right, we had a 6-time campaign winner, J.L. Johnson, with his Iliad, the Rule of 9 campaign. And I mean, he just dropped so much info on the how and the why of what he was doing. And you could just tell that, like, he knew he had put in those hours.
Oh, definitely. Not just on the business side and the crowdfunding, but absolutely in the creative side, And this campaign is just looking great, and it's so close, almost there. I mean, we could close that gap tonight.
I know it's so sweet to see, like, 59 backers, and What are we looking at? We're just
$69.
$69 away. Is that
Mhm.
how's my math there?
I think that's about right. That looks about right to
Right.
me. You
So
know.
yeah, insert your own Beavis giggle at that number. Um, so yeah, I kind of really quickly updated my campaign page over the course of our visit with Pops over at CromCon,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted to keep it fresh, right? So I did all of our little today's streams. Those links go to the YouTube pages, and then I wanted to do like I decided to go with the strong cover reveal, right? And really lean into the whole yin yang of those covers side by side. So yeah, that's kind of where things are at. And then, the important details of the specs. And this is also what I changed. I wanted to kind of bring up the whole social proof
Okay.
aspect, right? I wanted people to like pretty quickly know that, they're not the only ones who said yes to this thing. So, and I think it gives a whole picture. Like you've got the Master 2 cover, you've got a couple of the sketch variants. It kind of creates the whole, like, I don't know, big picture of who the backers are, I guess.
Totally. I always feel like you've been keen about the big picture and the little picture, whether it's within the pages themselves or even just the design of the different elements, like the covers and all those things. You have a very keen eye for that, attention to detail, which I always appreciate. So.
And here's one detail that I quietly snuck in there, right? The YBCA logo, which is it's for the Yerba Buena Center of the Arts here in San Francisco, because they're like a nonprofit organization. They're a museum, and over the course of last year, they have been providing certain kinds of funding assistance for artists in the Bay Area. Right? They've gone full on. They've developed their own kind of what is it, like a UBI. It's not universal though. It's specific for art. So it's like an ABI, right? An artist's basic income, where they like funded certain artists specifically, so that they could do their art over the year. But then they also put a wide pool, and I think they took like 5,000 applicants, and they picked only 1,000 or less than 1,000. Maybe it was like 500. But they set aside a chunk of funds to give all of these artists, applying artists and cultural curators, they're called, some funding over the course of the 2022 year. And so I was one of those people selected.
That's great. That's excellent.
It's just like, it's not just the fact that it helped pay the bills, but also the recognition of being like, this organization recognized what I do, recognized that drawing as, art.
No, definitely. And it's kind of understated in society for kind of forget, but like the artists are the people that create hope and positivity, and a positive outlook for our society and our culture, So when you have an organization like that not only acknowledges, but kind of literally puts their money where their mouth is on that, that's tremendous, So that's excellent.
And speaking of another such one, here, this is what Tiger's Tail Volume 1 pulled off in 1 year, right? Is all of these things. They also received the second annual Make More Comics grant.
That's great.
Which means, every year, 100% Comics, sets aside some funds, and they pick, one project that they want to help out. And so here, last year I was doing this Kickstarter campaign for Volume 1, and I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying all of this stuff. So what do you think if I try some of this too? And they were like, yeah, we like where you're going. And they kind of pitched in as well. So
that's excellent.
So yeah. And then the third cool thing, is that same art, right, ended up in a gallery show in the Bay Area. So
that's great.
What a way that, interesting. People are so obsessed with getting into comic shops, and rightly so. But it's this weird thing that Tiger's Tail tends to do really well in art galleries. Like that's where I sell the most either I'm doing something right or I'm doing something wrong. I'm not sure, but
I think you're definitely doing something right, I mean, if you can attract that audience, and then bring them in to the comic book fold, or raise their perception of what a comic book could be, right? Then that's a huge accomplishment, because I think that's the thing everybody's talking about is how do we get more people into comic books, and yeah, you're achieving it. That's great.
Well, I know one of the folks that I picked up a copy at the gallery show, ended up on one of our live streams on an After Dark episode actually, and she was commenting. So yeah, the Comics Crew Show has got its own little special magic and it has a special place. I have to put a flag and let people know that they belong together, or that they're intimately intertwined, I should say, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like you kind of alluded to it, I think in one of your updates, or maybe it was one of your newsletters. So many Kung Fu masters actually start from the comic book background. I mean, as a fan, I mean, it's like, what's the closest you can get to becoming a superhero in real life and achieving that level of excellence, right? And martial arts is a big part of that. So, there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, this whole marathon has been is it a marathon? Not yet. Feels like one already.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? We were just about to clear a week in a couple hours. It feels longer. But I think the thing for me is the lead up, right? I almost have to remind myself, even though, getting funny and stuff like that, I kind of take this almost as the victory lap, in the sense that all that hard work and behind the scenes stuff, this is where we get to kind of start showing people what we've been up to and all that, and as taxing as it can be, because it is, if you've ever done a Kickstarter, and this is my first one, but it's this kind of feeling like I get to show everybody what I've been trying to achieve this whole time, and there's a deep satisfaction in that, in and of itself. So yeah,
definitely, totally agreed.
Yeah.
So Curtis, how are things on your end? Last I heard, I knew you were funded, and that happened a couple of days ago. Congrats, well done.
Thank you so much. Let me pull this thing up here. We'll go over it. I believe as of today, right about here we are. I think we've exceeded our initial funding, which is great. I believe
that.
Yeah. I think we just hit 110% funded, which is it's very exciting, and really gotten a lot of support from colleagues, friends, the comic book community. Hoping we get a little bit more interaction with our Kung Fu community. I think everybody's been busy with Lion Dance and Chinese New Year's festivities, and I'll be highlighting different features of the comic book. That's kind of one of the things that I want to do with my social media posts. I've noticed some people kind of go a little bit more of a pressuring route with, trying to get more people to look at their thing. But I think it's more important to share your features and let people know what you have to offer, So,
totally.
I think that's really important. So, just kind of a brief overview. This is the standard edition cover that I did. That's the main pledge that everybody can get. We have digital and physical rewards.
So you did that cover, right? So you 100% all of your decisions, right? So why, like, it looks like you're going with the Hollywood movie poster.
little bit. I mean, there's a lot of little subtle things. The mystery of the comic, but there's actually a mystery. The mystery is, who is the shadow ghost, right? Who is this masked figure? And so there's a lot of subtle hints in the cover, in the book. There's actually a big mystery element to it. And of course, I loved the old, I think it was the old John Romita cover of Spider-Man. I don't know if you remember, where we had Peter Parker walking in the foreground and Spider-Man kind of looming in the background with his back turned. So that was kind of the allusion to this. And I'm planning this week to start revealing a little bit more of the character art. I've actually been kind of doling out the concept art over this whole time, and I haven't really shown the main character designs. These are the main character designs here, but I'll be releasing them. And I think kind of one of the fun things I don't get to talk about much is the development. Is it was important that each of these characters look cool, but how do they match up against each other, color scheme wise, design wise? How do they complement each other? A lot of the changes in the color schemes of them were based on that. Maybe one character's outfit was the same color or too similar, or didn't play off another. It's kind of getting that harmony.
Oh, I know. I mean, look at them. You could just see them like in their own little blister packs. Each one's got their perfect their color scheme, like that each action figure would have its accessory like
Oh,
in the
definitely.
mix. Like you've thought about all of those details, I'm certain.
Oh, absolutely. And you can't really tell from here, but here's like a neat subtle detail. You can kind of start to see it here. If you zoom in, you can actually see, and this is like a subtle thing. I actually did a color hold on every character. So there is no black outline. Each character's outline is kind of based on their color scheme. So he actually has a blue outline. She has a maroon, which is kind of based on the pink, green, amber, kind of orange, and he has kind of a purple. And it's something that you can't really tell from out here. But I think I'm always a big believer that those subtle things you feel or you sense, So
Yeah.
it's just those kind of subtle details. So that's the main cover, and this is the city of Baco City where the story takes place, which obviously you know what that alludes to.
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just the whole subject of an establishing shot and then the work of perspective, and you work in clip studio paint, so thank God for the freaking perspective ruler. Because
I love that.
Only someone like a Jeff Darrow is gonna sit there with an actual ruler for like half of it before he starts winging it, and
oh, totally. I love clip studio. I mean,
that's why I like to put. That's why many of my drawings are very smoky and foggy, because it helps obscure the details that you've clearly labored over.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And you called it. It's that clip studio perspective ruler. My gosh, what a tool! And not to go too deep in it because we kind of have in the past, but we got all the authentic Kung Fu combat. One of the things, I just wrote an article for Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine, which will be coming out in a week or so. But one of the key things is, even though the Kung Fu is based on my understanding of Kung Fu and my background, it's not, no specific real Kung Fu style is named. Like, it's not Hongga or this or that. They're all fictitious Kung Fu styles. And the hope for that is that it raises all of us as Kung Fu people in the community. I want people to read this and to turn around and go to my friend, Sifu Tomizaki's school and be just as inspired as they would if they were to train with me. I think that's an important thing,
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
And then that's the sequence. That's the sequence that we broke down on CromCon.
Yeah.
Lesson you dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
The technique. So that was a fun one. And then just the classic, see, it's just like the fact that you did the work of setting up the color schemes makes it so readable, when they're facing off, so that you could do the classic thing that a lot of people forget comics are good at, right? Where you can kind of externalize an internal experience, because it's not that the one wall in the back of that scenario is green. The green in the background is more like an expression of what's inside the character.
Exactly. And these characters are one is a crane stylist, one is a snake stylist, and there's always been that interplay, rivalry in Kung Fu styles. This gentleman, Sifu Chan, right, the older gentleman with the bald head. So because he's snake style, there's always these little subtleties, like his goatee is like a fork tongue, just like a snake's tongue. And he's wearing his suit actually kind of tapers down like a snake. And even he has ridges, these yellow ridges, like the bottom of the belly of a snake is supposed to allude to that. Now, why is the crane stylist in red? There's a very specific reason, but again, that's for the book, right?
Spoiler alert, people.
Spoiler alert. Yes, I mean, those are examples of it. As a Kung Fu instructor, you have to have stance training in the book, so that's why that's there. That's a hallmark, a benchmark of Kung Fu. And of course, there's the character.
The color scheme, right? So like, it doesn't necessarily literally have to mean that he's stance training at night in that scene, but it's evocative of the fact that he's gonna have to stay up late stance training. Like,
definitely. Definitely. I mean, and a lot of these things are like echoes to, I mean, like Frank Miller's work on Daredevil. I mean, he's always been so good at figuring out where to abstract something and when to spell it out. And I think that that's such an important lesson. It also determines the speed of the reader. I mean, a Geoff Darrow piece you will stay on forever. It almost has that Where's Waldo kind of deepness to it. So
Right.
and yeah.
But to kind of quote like the Scott McCloud thing, right? Like
Yeah.
if you had done panel borders around each one of those stances,
Mhm.
we would have gotten more of a sense of motion that he was moving from one to the other, right? But
Yeah.
without those panel borders, that timelessness helps drive home like the endurance necessary, right? Like that oh my God, when is this gonna end? Sort of thing that underlies
Oh yeah.
the training,
Absolutely. You called it, because in the last stance you can see he's buckling. I mean, if you've ever done stance work, it's hard. It's hard, So yeah, those are kind of examples. Kind of, again, the Kung Fu Skills Technology by Patrick Lugo, that phenomenal logo.
I know. Yeah, we have to definitely. I don't know if we're gonna do it live or actually do it as a written thing or something, but I think we definitely got to like break down some behind the scenes on how we got to some of those very key design elements.
It was a fun process. It really was. Really fun process.
For sure.
Yeah, so those are kind of the key points, and like one of the things that was nice, we got endorsed by the International Traditional Kung Fu Association, and that's for our accurate depiction or authentic depiction of Kung Fu and Chinese martial arts culture. So that was kind of a big win, and have lots of rewards. This is the special edition. This is actually probably our most popular one. This is by Stephen Butler, Web of Spider-Man artist, and it's kind of funny. I think. Tony Wolf was explaining today, he has a similar thing. So our special edition has an extra 16 pages at the end of additional concept art, things like that. And I think Tony's doing the same thing in his book.
Right. The back matter is such a, when it's pulled off right, it's such a sweet payoff to the whole experience,
Oh, totally. So yeah, feel free to check it out. But that's where we're at. I guess let me just stop sharing the screen right there. I think I guess we should we'll talk about what our original plans were tonight.
Right. So I definitely made some cool graphics. I had a lot of fun doing those, but they're out there in the ether, right? We were gonna have Capitan Walas come in to share with us the latest that he's been up to.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he some unforeseen circumstances happened, so he's not able to join us tonight. But he assured me that he will be happy to come back and join us in the future. And I'm sure probably in this week or next week sometime we'll have him on. That being said, go ahead.
No, I definitely feel like he'll be on one of these either after darks or midday live streams on Tuesday or something. We still have a few of these to do. This is only the second Sunday we've done this. We have a few more Sundays to go and a few more Tuesdays to go. So I think he can come on back.
Yeah. And I guess in that sense, in a little bit, we'll just show, one of the things Capitan Walas collaborated with myself on is a music video for Shadow Ghost. And the funny thing is, we did that before the comic book even has the was complete. So it's kind of like a prequel, I guess you could say, to the comic book. So we'll play that in a little bit, but maybe while we're here, maybe we'll just kind of tell everybody what we have planned this week, what's going on, things of that nature. Or maybe we can
I say we play one of those videos first.
Yeah, let's do that,
and then I can queue up some images.
Let's do that. So we're going to play the music video called Drunken Tiger. It's by Capitan Walas with Alan Yip, based on the Shadow Ghost comic book that's currently out on Kickstarter. And it stars Sifu Tony Wong and Kung Fu champion Megan Wong. And I'll go ahead and let me just pull that up right here and check it out. All right, and we're back.
Awesome. That's so awesome. It's so awesome that soundtrack is available on Instagram. So I've been using it so often. It's just so fun to know that he'll be stoked that I use it.
Uh-huh.
And I assume he's stoked. He ends up resharing it, but I'm stoked to use it. And yeah, such a good soundtrack. Such a good soundtrack to that sequence.
Totally. It's kind of, I've heard other Sifus even in I think Sifu Brian Cuddle of the Chor Lei Fat lineage. I've heard he's used it. So it's kind of like making the rounds amongst the Kung Fu community, which is great. I think Walas gets a big kick out of that. So
how satisfying. That's cool. So hey, I wanted to show you something I found. This is the graphic that I cooked up for Tuesday's show.
Great.
This is another old friend of mine, Grant Balfour, also from the message boards where I met Tony Wolf, and we've still kept in touch. He and I have actually gone to Burning Man together.
Oh, cool.
Whole other set of wild stories. But Grant's a writer. He's a journalist of amazing stories. He's actually even written a story for Kung Fu magazine, so he's in there. He's been to China and back.
Great.
He's editor and a musician, and he's written his own like D&D modules and just one of those Renaissance men for the modern day. So he kindly agreed to come on Tuesday. He asked me like what we should talk about. I told him, why don't we talk about fight scenes? Let me know what your favorite fight scene is. It could be movies or it could be comics.
Yeah.
And he just wrote this huge list, just like bam, 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 like down to the issue number. So that's gonna be a fun time on Tuesday.
Excellent. I like that you said that you met him on the message boards, just like Tony. I think the thing about that is that's a time where you had to put in effort to actually, even though it's online, right? That's the early days. That took a lot of effort, which means it was people that are very passionate about it, So that sounds like that must have been a really great community to be part of.
Oh, it was a fascinating, and it was, at the time when everyone was making up the rules as they went along, how it was the Wild West. So there was a lot of self-sorting going on, but then amidst all of that, there were people that we would just keep connecting with.
That's great.
But and he'll tell man, the stories he can tell, dude.
Nice.
There's a reason why he was on the UFO beat. I'll just leave it at that.
I like hearing about that stuff.
But I have another guest that's gonna come on Tuesday.
Okay.
And I would you like to know a little bit about that?
Yes, let's hear.
Okay, so let's see. I have to let me stop one screen share to then present another screen share.
Okay.
And this is one of the cool things about both comics and kind of like the indie comic Kickstarter scene.
Nice.
So J.C. Carter is the writer of a comic called Shaolin Nun.
Nice.
Whose Kickstarter campaign is live right now, and for issue 4 of Shaolin Nun, I could not believe that I had missed 3 issues before it got onto my radar. I usually like to think that I'm kind of on it with these kind of things, and this one took me by surprise. So I had to back it immediately. And then I reached out to him and I was like, hey, we need to talk. And he said yes. Turns out he's also a Tai Chi instructor, so there's that whole side of thing.
It looks like a great book. For me too. It's the first time. I feel bad admitting it, but I wasn't aware. It wasn't on my radar. But as soon as I found out, I made the pledge, and I'm trying to catch up with all 4 issues. So I can't wait to check them out. I think how could you not?
Oh, exactly. Especially knowing that like Gene Ching has one of our past guests has been on the ground on the Shaolin Nun beat in reality. So like
sure,
to see that, like, that someone else has kind of picked that up and brought it, brought the baton into the comics world. That's like kind of satisfying in its own way, even though I had nothing to do with it. It was just like, yes, it's being done.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We need more, more people spreading the word. So
I know. Well, it's all, part of the epic crossover we'll have to organize at some point. It'll be dimension spanning and, universe hopping, but kung fu themed and somehow,
Oh, yeah. Totally. Totally. And it's just nice to see kung fu comics without people doing the robot as their kung fu, without the hands like this all the time. And, how many times how many times is somebody lifting a Bruce Lee pose, literally just taking the same Bruce Lee photo and using that same thing as reference for the same thing over and over again. It's nice when you see books like this. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but our books too, where it's actually authentic kung fu and it actually looks different than 90% of what's out there, right? So that's always
cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And the thing, I don't even know if I told you this, but he's going to bring the art team along with him for the show, so we could really get down into the details of it.
Great. That's great. So looking forward to that.
So that's going to be our Tuesday afternoon session. And he was asking, is it going to only just be an hour? And I'm like, we can probably, hang a little bit later. So, so considering the way we've scheduled things, we can really like get in there with this one.
Definitely.
And also really like try and get some backers onto this. I don't think people really realize what they're missing out on. So
yeah, it looks like a great book. Looks like an excellent book. So, no, totally. Very good.
Right on. So that's my update for you, Curtis.
Very good. Very good. Well, I think, everybody should be, again, we'll just kind of recap. We had some great guests today. Tamika Brown from UE Comics was here. And, we highly recommend checking out their current Kickstarter, right? Which is Jisei Volume 1.
Yeah, really 200 pages, completely done, you know.
Yeah, and done well. Looks great. It has that really pulpy manga vibe to it, Not all books are good in color or black and white. This is a black and white book. It looks like it should be a black and white book. It really looks like it takes care of the medium. You got the zipatones and all that great stuff. Halftones looks great.
And the intensity of it, kind of like the black and white, I think, will kind of capture the high stakes of that story.
Definitely. And then we have, am I pronouncing right? Ennead?
The Ennead. Yeah. I mean, you don't rely on me for pronunciations. I'm all over the place. But JL Johnson's 6th campaign, epic. I have it right here.
Yeah.
Epic graphic novels, like epic fantasy, epic graphic novel all together. Epic world building.
Oh yeah, the world building just seems amazing. I mean, I think that's the thing that struck me. He was not faltering. When you ask him about the world, he knows every little detail of that world. He doesn't pause for a beat. He's really developed that. So
I know, and things. I've subscribed to his stuff, and I just, I cannot keep up with the amount he produces, in terms of just getting that stuff out there. So he's just like a cipher for this world that's coming through him. So it's good stuff, man. I'm excited to hear your opinions when you dig into that one.
Definitely. And of course, our other 2 guests that were just in, Tony and Eli, right? So I'm not sure if we have their link here.
Yeah, but we don't have a graphic for them.
But that's okay. We could give people the website. It was
Cosmic Lion Productions, right? That's the indie publisher. Yeah. Oh wait, I might have that in another tab over on camera B over here. Let's see.
And that was fun. I mean, we went over a little bit because we were having so much fun talking. You could just tell how passionate they both are, and great stuff. Yep.
Yeah. So there, Tony's book, right? 200 pages of a whole assortment of short stories, like mostly autobiographical.
Mm-hmm.
Totally in the spirit. I mean, like even the color scheme, totally in the spirit of a American Splendor.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like
The shading and everything.
his technique. He's got that like it reminds me of Crumb a little bit, where he's just using the micron and just doing the hatching. Like just really every line and so these stories are all over. They're like. He's got a series that are like his life in Greenpoint, like him witnessing the birth of hipsters. Great. He kind of, you know who he also reminds me of? Joe Sacco. Right? Like the journalist, comic artist who did Palestine and a few others. And so he does the Joe Sacco treatment, but for hipsters in Brooklyn.
Great.
Like he's on the ground. He's really letting you know, like it was the trucker hats that were the tipping point.
That's great.
And then he does the food things. He's like covered one of New York City's famous pizzerias in his comic.
Wow.
And stuff like that. That pizzeria has been in documentaries on Netflix.
Really?
But it's also featured in this graphic novel. What would you? Can we call this a graphic novel? It's a collection of short stories. It's like a compilation.
Yeah. It's like a self-anthology, in a way. It's definitely. I mean, the one thing that struck me, and I kind of mentioned it when he was talking about all the different stories and things in it. It really feels like you're going to sit down with somebody and have a conversation. Where it just kind of meanders in a good way and goes to different subjects and thoughts and reflections. Looks like a great book.
Oh yeah, and the one question I regret not asking him when we had him live was like, where can people find him?
Yeah,
when they're cruising their streaming service. Because I'll tell you, he was on an episode of the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime. He's done a few roles here and there,
That's good. So, he's very personable, and he kept talking about wanting to be a radio show. He really should start his own podcast. I think I think we would be, I mean, I think he said he was doing something earlier, but he should go back to it. I think we would be I'd listen to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to check out his comedy sketches. You can find them on YouTube, and he's done like legit voiceover work and like trailers too. He can hit the baritone. So. Nice. But his fun, like when he wants to have a good time, he can be freaking hilarious. So. Excellent. But then he does sincere journalism in comics, So another one and then Eli kind of like on the other side of the spectrum in terms of like, I don't know, crazy cosmic exuberance,
Oh yeah. I mean, you can tell he's passionate, deeply passionate. And the books look great. All the books look really tremendous,
I mean, this is like, look at what he's got. Look at what he's delivering, I mean,
it has like, that indie record vibe to it, it really feels like you remember when Tower Records was, back in the day where it was just, there was that cool indie vibe to certain sections, and they have just crazy assortment of magazines. And this kind of gives me that vibe of the old,
Tower
Records.
I have to send them a copy of my little, When I Was a Raver comic that I did, that's just like, it's just I think he'd get it,
Totally great stuff. I love it.
Agreed.
Love how it is. But I think we had quite a day. So
yes, indeed. And so I think with that we could probably deliver some of the video action that we have for our audience. Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe something to the effect of our closing credits and then the special Wallace video that we still have yet to play this evening.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. We'll close it out. Stick with us. And at the end, a custom special performance by Capitan Walas, who will be joining us in the near future. So take care, everybody.
Excellent. Let me just cue that up. I've got too many things playing. And
as a kid, I loved Kung Fu movies. So I went to Chinatown, trained with a wise teacher, and became a Kung Fu master. Sounds simple, right? Not really. My journey, like the study of Kung Fu, was as arduous as it was rewarding, filled with as many secrets as revelations and as much heartache as triumph. It's a defining moment in my life, and while I began studying Kung Fu to learn how to fight, what I discovered was a way to live. Martial arts never came easy to me. I was far from talented, and even farther from being the chosen one. It was only through years of tenacious perseverance that I was able to make steady progress. And so, I was surprised when my master told me that I should teach Kung Fu and share the art outside of Chinatown. I did just that and taught Kung Fu to my own students for 20 years. I always wanted to do more to share the art of Kung Fu with others, but was limited by only being able to teach those within my immediate area. What about the rest of the world? Then one day, I had one of the deepest insights about Kung Fu. I realized that the punches, kicks, throws, and myriad of martial maneuvers are merely the delivery system for the true essence of Kung Fu, the philosophy and way of life. Having worked for years as a professional artist and storyteller in film, animation, video games, and comic books, I realized that I could draw upon this unique skill set to share my passion for Kung Fu with the greater world. And so I created Shadow Ghost, a Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. The first issue is created entirely by myself, from story and art to colors and lettering. Every panel is filled with unprecedented accuracy in its depiction of Kung Fu by a comic book creator who knows from first-hand experience what it means to be a Kung Fu master. Shadow Ghost is a martial arts coming-of-age story about a young man whose search for the truth about a legendary hero leads him to study Kung Fu, and through a twist of fate becomes part of the legend himself. For the first time in comic book history, you can immerse yourself further in each issue with Kung Fu skills technology, powered by Tiger Crane Kung Fu. Scan the QR code at the back of the comic and follow an exclusive link to an online instructional video where I teach you Kung Fu techniques featured in this series. With Kung Fu skills technology, you can do more than just read about the Shadow Ghost saga. You can become a part of it. The first issue is completely finished and ready for print. All that's needed is for you to make a pledge of support so that we can fund the printing of the first issue. Together, we can share the wisdom of Kung Fu with the greater world. Shadow Ghost is the story of Kung Fu. It's about the people, the art, the culture, and the philosophy. It's my story and the story of those that I've learned from, taught, fought, and loved. Join me and become part of the vibrant legacy in a place and time where we might not be the chosen one, but where we can make a choice to be part of something bigger and greater than just ourselves. I'm Sifu Curtis Fujita, and this is Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master.
Hi, I'm Plugo, author, illustrator, comic creator, and the art director for Kung Fu magazine for more than 20 years. But I'm here to talk to you about a project that's really special to me. It's the middle grade graphic novel, A Tiger's Tale. Imagine the story of tigers and dragons and martial artists and monsters. So when I launched the campaign for A Tiger's Tale Volume 1, I did not know what to expect. But it succeeded thanks to a group of passionate backers. It was also awarded the Make More Comics art grant that year and was later featured as part of an art gallery exhibit. And that's why I'm coming to Kickstarter, to cover production fees, printing, copy editing, things like that. Books completed, with the exception of a few pages I've set aside to color over the course of the campaign. This turned out to be a popular feature of Volume 1's campaign, so I thought I'd bring it back for Volume 2. I think it's going to be great fun for everyone. Hope you'll support the campaign. I'm very excited about it. Thanks for stopping by.
Hi there, this is Capitan Walas. I'd like to wish Sipso Curtis Fujita and Patrick Lugo a good fortune and success in their Kickstarter's Child Ghost comic and a Tiger's Tale comic book. So it's out now, check it out. Y quiero desearle mucha suerte y muchas felicidades a Patrick Lugo y a mi hermano Sipso Curtis Fujita por su lanzamiento del Child Ghost comic book y el Tiger Tales. Chequenlo, están en todas las redes y chequen todo el media, el Instagram.